In mid-May, 3 European leaders took to the podium in a stand for Palestinians.
Today, Ireland, Norway, and Spain are announcing that we recognize the state of Palestine.
The three joined about 140 other nations that have backed the creation of a Palestinian state. It outraged Israel. Still, the move by the European countries was largely symbolic, says Daniel Levy, president of the U.S. Middle East Project. He says creating a Palestinian state would have to be passed by the UN Security Council, and unlikely to happen.
We are in a situation today where increasingly two states seems to be the stuff of fantasy given the realities on the ground.
Palestinians' fight with Israel over statehood has been going on for more than 75 years. In 1947, when the British mandate for ruling over the region, back then known as Palestine, was coming to an end, it handed control to the UN. Jewish immigrants had been flooding into the area, which they saw as historically their homeland. And there was tension between them and the Palestinians, which were in the majority. The UN decided to partition the region.
There was a sense that because it was contested, it should be divided, and the UN blessed the creation of dividing Palestine into a Jewish state and an Arab state.
John Alterman is a senior vice president and director of the Middle East program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He says under the UN plan, 56% of the land would become a Jewish state called Israel. 42% would go to the Palestinians. But
the Arab side didn't recognize the legitimacy of partition. The Israelis said, we will take half a loaf and we'll create a state. The Arab side didn't.
In 1948, Israel declared statehood. The U.S. was the first nation to recognize it as a country. President Harry Truman acknowledged the decision to recognize Israel wasn't an easy one.
What I was trying to do was to find a homeland for the Jews and still be just for the Arabs.
Fighting began in 1947 and again the following year. Arab states came to the Palestinians' aid. Levy says Israel won both times and was able to capture more land.
Israel ends up controlling not around half the land as provided for by the UN, but 78% of the land, and forcibly expels the majority of Palestinian inhabitants.
More than 700,000 Palestinians were pushed into areas under Israeli military occupation, the Gaza Strip and parts of the West Bank. After the 1967 war, settlers snatched more land, and for decades the effort to create a Palestinian homeland faded. The U.S. continued to work towards a negotiated settlement. There was a glimmer of hope in the 1990s.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Arafat, Chairman of the Executive Council of the Palestine Liberation Organization, His Excellency Yitzhak Rabin, Prime Minister of Israel, the President of the United States.
In 1993, a historic handshake between Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Chairman Yasser Arafat sealed the Oslo Accords. Yusuf Munayyer, head of the Palestine-Israel program at the Arab Center in Washington, D.C., says although the peace accords represented a small step forward, not full statehood for the Palestinians.
But even that Rabin government was unwilling to accept a sovereign Palestinian state. In other words, there would be some form of glorified autonomy for the Palestinians, but the state of Israel would still control a lot of that territory.
2 years later, Rabin was assassinated by a right-wing Jewish extremist. The Oslo Accords, for all intents and purposes, were dead. Successive American administrations continued to push for negotiations towards a two-state solution. But Munayyer says Israel, particularly under the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, wasn't interested.
And if the Israelis are telling you, really as clear as can be, that this is not something that they want, they oppose it, that presents a huge obstacle.
Munayyer says without that push by the U.S., such as withholding weapons or not using its UN veto power, Israel is unlikely to budge. But Alterman, with the Center for Strategic and International Studies, says it's not all on Israel's shoulders.
Palestine doesn't have a lot of the characteristics that a state needs to have. It doesn't have sovereignty. It doesn't really control its own borders. It's not able to behave as a state. You could argue that that's because Israel doesn't let it because there's a conflict.
Alterman says now is not the time to be talking about statehood.
Recognizing states is what happens after the conflict's over, not as a way to help resolve it, because that's taking sides in a conflict.
And with the war raging in Gaza, that impasse is unlikely to be overcome anytime soon. Jackie Northam, NPR News.
And Here and Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Scott Tong.
And I'm Celeste Headley. The latest news coming up next. This is Here and Now.
Funding for Here and Now comes from WBUR Boston and BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy and helping clients find balance. Clients are matched with one of 35,000 therapists for online therapy from anywhere at betterhelp.com/public.
The Republican Party and American evangelicals have been in lockstep, really, since the 1970s. And now for Republicans, there's this question about whether or not it's still politically advantageous for them to follow where the anti-abortion movement is going on this stuff.
I'm Sabrina Tavernisi. That's today on The Daily from The New York Times.
Every weekday at 6:30 on Radio IQ.
Support for Radio IQ comes from Davidson's, purveyor of business and casual clothing and shoes for men since 1910. Davidson's features custom-made options. Downtown Roanoke and at davidsons.com.
Radio IQ is broadcasting in digital on WVTF Roanoke, WRIQ Charles City Richmond, WURV Richmond, WVTU Charlottesville, WVTW Charlottesville, WVTR Marion, WISC FM Wise, WQIQ Spotsylvania, WIQR Lexington, WEHC Emory, and in Richmond on 92.5 and Fredericksburg on 94.9. Radio IQ, a service of Virginia Tech.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creators of MATLAB and Simulink software, accelerating the pace of engineering.
The 2 p.m. session of Roanoke City Council for June 17th, 2024 is hereby called to order, and I'll ask our clerk, Ms. Webb, to please call the roll.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones. Mr. Pretty. Vice Mayor Cobb.
Here.
Ms. White-Boyd.
Here.
Mr. Vollison.
Here.
Ms. Moon Reynolds.
Here.
And Mayor Lee.
Here. Thank you. The quorum is present. This afternoon, our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, I will lead you in that, but we're pleased to have Captain Christina Trainum from the Salvation Army here who will lead us in the invocation. Welcome, Captain Trainum. Would everybody please stand and read?
Let's pray together. My eyes look to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. Father God, today we thank you for each person here in this room. We thank you for the ideas, for the issues, for the concerns that will be presented. We ask that they will be shared with wisdom and understanding. We ask that conversation would be encouraging and uplifting, And where there may be issues or problems, we ask that there would be abundant solutions that are easy to find. I thank you for each person in this room who has a desire to better our community, and may we continue to seek to serve others above serving ourselves. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There are some seats for those of you that want to be seated here. All right. Council meetings will be televised live and replayed on RVTV 3 on Thursdays at 7 o'clock p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. and video stream through Facebook Live at facebook.com/Roanoke VA. Council meetings are offered with closed captioning for the deaf or hard of hearing. All right, today, the announcements for council today is the Council of the City of Roanoke is seeking applications for the various vacancies on council-appointed authorities, boards, commissions, and committees. Please access the city's website at www.roanokeva.gov to complete an online application. And as we normally do, we encourage all our citizens to seek positions on our boards and commissions. They play a very important part in helping us manage and govern this 8-time All-American city. Yeah. All right, I appreciate that. All right, so please feel free to do that. If you need any assistance or guidance, the clerk's office will help you. You can follow the website or just call the clerk's office and they'll help you fill out an application. It's a very simple process. All right, I will come down to the lower podium and meet Nicole Gibson, who will share some information with us. Hey, how you doing?
Great, how are you?
I'm doing fine. This is a proclamation, the mayor has a proclamation declaring the week of June 23rd to June 29th, 2024 as Employee Safety Week. And the proclamation reads as follows. The National Safety Council, formed in 1913, was congressionally chartered in 1953 to lead the nation in inquiry, prevention through safety and health information, education, training, and advocacy in the United States. Whereas the rate of unintentional injuries and deaths in the United States remain at unacceptable level, the majority of all unintentional injuries and accidents are preventable. Whereas the Division of Risk and Safety Management, Department of General Services, is the lead division responsible for employee safety and mitigation of risk. And it is the duty of each and every employee of the City of Roanoke, regardless of level, to participate in safety training. follow safe practices, report incidents of non-compliance, and be held accountable for unintentional accidents and injuries. Whereas throughout the month of June, the Division of Risk and Safety Management has been following National Safety Council programming to promote awareness, policy, practices, and procedures. Whereas the summer season is a time of increased work and travel, it is also the season of increased rates of unintentional injuries and accidents, and an appropriate time to focus attention on injury risk and prevention awareness. Now therefore, I, Sherman P. Lee, Senior Mayor of the City of Roanoke, Virginia, do hereby proclaim the week of June 23rd through the 29th, 2024, throughout this great 8-time All-American City of Roanoke as City Employee Safety Week. And I want to thank Nicole, who's the Manager of Risk Management, to come, and I will present her this proclamation, and she'll have a few words to say. Your pictures?
Our photographer is in the back of the room.
Change it.
I know, I never know when I'm on duty or not. But you stand ready. When I see Carol, I'll feel good. Balance. Yes, sir. One, two, three. And I'm going to take one with my camera, and I will fix myself. 1, 2. Thank you. Because Mary is very short. Oh, go ahead. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you. And good afternoon, Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Cobb, City Council, Dr. Patton, and Tim Spencer. I wanted to take a moment to say thank you for acknowledging the hard work and dedication, not only to the Risk Management Division, but all across the divisions and departments within the city. Over the last several months, Mr. Jeffrey Powell and I have been working on a safety initiative. The committee will be responsible for creating a safe and pleasant workplace that is supportive of good mental and physical health, having the proper personal protective equipment and specialized training, updating the safety manual. I'd like to take a moment to recognize my team. Would y'all stand up for a second? Ms. Cynthia Tanks, our risk specialist. Ashley Wilburn, she is our temp admin. And our safety specialist, he's in OSHA training right now, so he couldn't make it. And his... I could not do it without my wonderful staff. As Mayor mentioned, June is National Safety Month, and each week we've highlighted a certain safety topic. The Risk Management Division held its first citywide safety event, which I saw some of you show up, and we greatly appreciated the support. It was a successful turnout. We served over 450 employees at the event. Vendors were on site. We had several divisions that were there to also answer questions. We handed out safety shirts, hats, gloves, and many other safety items. We look forward to this becoming an annual event. On July the 1st, we will begin using McGriff's, who is our new insurance broker, Base Plus Incident Reporting System, and that will be used throughout the city for any general and auto liability, property, workers' compensation claims. This will allow the risk management team to provide precise reporting on all incidents per type of claim, employee, amount of damages, and so on, so we can use that for additional training as well. Once again, the Division of Risk Management appreciates the proclamation for National Safety Week this next week. So thank y'all again. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Council members, you don't have any comments?
Just going to say that the safety fair was so much fun. And I know you worked really hard, but it was a great turnout.
Yes.
And it turned out to be a lovely day, a little on the hot side.
Yes.
But there was great energy, and I think everyone had a great time, so thank you for helping that happen.
Yeah, and my division could not have done that without the support of the Public Works team and General Services. Fire, EMS, they all came out to help represent, and it was amazing. So hopefully everyone else will come next year. Yes. Awesome. Thank you again. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Now, I'm going to step aside and let two people come up to lead us in this next recognition. It's the All-America City recognition. And I was honored to join the delegation and attend the National Civic League All-America City Awards, where Roanoke officially became an 8-time All-American City. And we've invited all of the delegation here today, and I'm going to ask Carol Corbin and Katie Hedrick to come forward and take it from here.
Yeah, I think Angie's has got it up here already.
All right, you got it.
Sure.
Resilient and progress.
I don't know how to do the audio.
We were more prepared for the competition
Than
itself this time.
we were here, just to be clear.
Roanoke is a city known for its
Do we want to?
I guess let's just still
That's odd. Well, yeah, we'll go ahead and say a few words, and if we come back to the video at the end, then we come back at the end. So, first of all, we were really excited to be part of the delegation that helped Roanoke bring home the All-America City Award for the 8th time. We had an amazing delegation that went to compete with 19 other cities across the country. And our team was a mixture of both city representation. Mayor Lee was with us, Councilmember Trish White-Boyd, Katie, Assistant City Manager Angie O'Brien, and myself, and members from our community and our community partners. So we had Ahu Salam from Blue Ridge Literacy, Kelly Key from LEAP, Betty Jean Wolfe from Habitat for Humanity of the Roanoke Valley, and Donna Davis was representing Melrose Plaza. Also, we had youth representatives with us who were prior members of the Youth Services Citizens Board, and also on the Star City Strong panel, Javion Tucker and Kennedy Wade. And we were able to showcase
a few programs that the city is working on, including our inclusion programs, the formation and work of the Equity and Empowerment Advisory Board, also our innovative approach to allocating ARPA funding through the use of a community-represented Star City Strong Recovery and Resiliency Advisory Panel, and some of the project outcomes from that panel. So Partners in Prosperity from Habitat for Humanity, Melrose Plaza, and Leaps Weston Hub. And all of these projects are working to address access to food, affordable housing, and improving community health outcomes across our community. So Roanoke is an innovative, engaging, and collaborative place to live, and we know that winning the All-America City Award doesn't mean that we're a perfect place to live. But what it does mean is that we recognize where we could do better, and we find innovative and collaborative ways with our community to make that happen, and that's why we're really proud of the work for this particular All-America City.
I did not prepare notes, so this is always dangerous. But I think what struck me so much was the collaboration that led to this award. Like Carol said, we had city representatives. Technically, the city was named on the application, all of that. But all the work that was highlighted was because of the partners that we have with nonprofits, with community members, with people that are willing to kind of join hands with local government and really work and brainstorm and problem solve to address the issues that we do have, to look at what maybe we need to improve on and how are we going to do that, putting in a lot of just time and sweat equity and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to ask those of you that were on our delegation if y'all will come forward, because like I said, Carol and I wrote our names on the application, but it was not our work alone. It was a big group of us, and this is just the representation that went with us. There were a lot more people that were involved in the projects that we highlighted and the things that we were recognized for. But we definitely want them to come forward so that y'all can see the group that was with us and that helped us with this award. So thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.
Katie, I'd like for them to just take the mic and just give their names.
Sure.
And so, because they're on TV now. I want citizens to know who you are. All right? Is there a portable mic down there?
This is yours.
Okay.
I'm Donna Davis, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for Melrose Plaza at Goodwill. And this experience was just something that will always be special to me because I celebrated my birthday while we were doing our presentation. Great group of people to work with, all of them.
Hi everyone, I'm Kennedy Wade. I was a member of the Youth Services Board and one of the panelists. And even though I don't go to school in Virginia, it was so amazing to just come back and be able to represent a city that I grew up in. It means so much to me. So thank you all for the opportunity.
And she's the granddaughter of former city council member and vice mayor Anita James Price. Hey, Anita.
I'm Javion Tucker. I was also one of the former Youth Service Board members, as well as on the youth representative for the Star City Strong panel. This was a great experience as a student who does go to a school in Virginia. It was also great to see all three cities that were nominated for this award got the award, so that was also a good experience.
Hi everyone, I'm Ahu Salem, Executive Director at Blue Ridge Literacy. It was an absolute honor to be part of this group, and today, in addition to thanking for including me in this effort, I am taking the message to all of our adult English learners at Blue Ridge Literacy, many of whom are new Americans in our community, that we each bring unique needs, skills, and qualifications, and all of those contribute to making our city so much better.
I'm Kelly Key. I'm the program director at LEAP, and I am not a public speaker, and I did all of my public speaking at the competition.
Hi, I'm Betty Jean Wolf. I'm the Senior Director of Community Engagement at Habitat for Humanity in the Roanoke Valley, and I was on the delegation because I was a Star City Strong Advisory Board member. To me, it was a privilege to be invited to participate, and I just came away energized at seeing the work of inclusion and diversity and cooperation and innovation across all 20 cities that were competing for this award. It was just really renewing of what democracy means and civic engagement means, and it gave me a great deal of pride to be a citizen of Roanoke and part of the advisory committee, so thank you.
All right, I remember sitting up here with us.
She has her own mic. Yes, I have my, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was truly an honor. You know, we were competing with cities like Oakland, California, Boulder, Colorado, and our presentation was very simple, and Katie and Carol did an excellent job. When we got there, we saw a lot of pomp and circumstance and a lot of dancing around in their long bloomers, and we just thought, this is going to be a marching band. So we thought, you know, this is going to be very interesting. But what we did was we presented our ideas, and like Katie and Carol said, how innovative we are, and the jurors and everybody, even people who from other cities, just talked about all of the wonderful things that we were doing, because the presentation was just cut and dry. We talked about what we're doing. We didn't have the pomp and circumstance. We just bragged about our city and all of the work that we're doing, and the jurors saw that, and they had all of these questions, and my husband said, I could tell you guys were going to win, you know, based on the questions they were asking. They were just impressed at all of the things that Roanoke is, you know, that we're doing. So I just want our residents to know that Roanoke is really a progressive city. We're doing very well, and they should all be very proud of the work that we do here in our beautiful city of Roanoke, our 8-time All-America city of Roanoke. Thank you, Mayor.
Let me say something that you all probably saw in the paper last week, and I want to mention something that the jurors said. Now, the jurors, that's that word they use, the jurors, but they're really the judges. And they're judges now, not just somebody they're bringing in off the street. They're judges who are mayors. The mayor of Austin, Texas, was a judge, and they're from across the country. They're CEOs, and they made the statement, and I want to read it to you. Out of 20 finalist cities from across the country, a panel of jurors selected Roanoke to be among this year's 10 award winners. A juror said, we've learned a lot from Roanoke today, and we think the rest of the country and the rest of the world can too, because of the presentation that these people made, and it was a lot of competition down there. I mean, you got 20 cities putting on presentations, and so as Councilwoman Trish Wright Board said, that we stayed to the point, we answered the questions, and you know, they even had I think they asked me, they asked about a diversity question. They said, you got a lot of women there with you, Mayor. I said, where are the men? I said, well, I'm proud of my women, and I think we do a good job down there. But they did a tremendous job in answering the questions, and you could tell that it came from what they felt. It wasn't something scripted out or they had to read. They felt what they were talking about, and it made an impact. So I'm just so proud to be a part of that, and working with these great people, great citizens here in our city. And Andrew, you didn't say anything, but you were there.
You gotta say something.
I didn't say anything. For those of you who don't know, I'm Angie O'Brien. I'm one of the assistant city managers, and really I lead and direct. This team is who worked together and delivered a fantastic presentation that was authentic and beautiful and genuine. And this was just the highlight of a handful of projects that would have made us recognized as an 8-time All-America city. We have just as many, if not more, in our back pocket that we can continue to win awards with. So really the work goes to these folks up here that work so diligently on making this possible. In addition to all of our community partners and our residents, thank you all. Because together in the city, we're an 8-time All-America city, just not this group. So thank you.
We don't have the announcement. Is that on tape, the announcement? They made the announcement. they call out the Star City Roanoke?
It was videotaped.
Do we-
It
do
was
we-
on their
do we
website.
have-
It's on their website. On their.
Well, our citizens may not look at that website. I want
We'll
to be.
get the video eventually, but they said they were editing and that kind of thing. And they'll
Okay.
send it to us hopefully this week or next. So.
Okay, all right. All right, council members.
We can treat, there is a Band-Aid for the video, if you're interested. I can put the microphone up to the speaker if that didn't work, so everybody can see the video.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
try it.
So this, we had a 10-minute presentation that we were doing for the judges, and we were allotted a 2-minute video at the start of our presentation. So we wanted to highlight some of the folks that were instrumental in our projects that weren't able to go with us to Denver. So this is the video that we started our presentation with.
It's all a part of the 10 minutes.
Roanoke is a city known for its beauty, resilience, and progress, but is also marked by the shadows of industrial decline and a legacy of racist systems and neglect. We've embarked on a transformative journey, confronting our past while building a future of inclusion, innovation, and civic engagement. Many of the project outcomes we will present today are directly affecting quality of life for our residents in historically underserved neighborhoods in Roanoke. Now let's hear from a few of our newcomers. Welcome to Roanoke.
My City Academy me ayudó cuando yo realmente no sabía cómo era el funcionamiento de las distintas áreas de la ciudad, y esto hizo que me sintiera parte de la ciudad y no un extranjero.
Efectivamente, tomar el curso me ayudó para conocer diferentes lugares, por ejemplo, la estación de policía, estación de bomberos, y yo me siento ahora más cómoda teniendo esta información conmigo.
I saw a city academy as a kind of developing a leadership, so which helped me a lot, and then I'm always into it. So I got a lot of helpful information. I got to know my government. I got to know what they do.
When we were all new here, we had a lot of problems and we didn't know about many of the resources that they were available. The city of Roanoke and the officials were always trying to help us. For example, they held a survey to hear about our needs for recreational activities. Such activities are really important because they help us give our information together with the city officials and make our city better for everyone.
All right, thank you all once again.
Thank you.
All right,
Carol? Mayor, Mr. Ballston had a good point. He said we should have gotten a picture with all the council before they leave. Before the delegation leaves, can we get a photo? Because I'm like, wait a minute.
With the award.
come on down front,
Yeah,
lady.
with the ward.
Yeah, come on.
Tracy, you gonna take the picture?
I am. I'm making Carol be in it.
I brought the camera and said I didn't have to be.
Okay.
You're the center. Yeah, you should come to the center.
No, you're not. Are we all in, or do we need to do something different?
In a little bit more.
Perfect. Okay, just a little bit so I can see Andy. Okay, I'm gonna take a few. Just keep smiling. No. 8 time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Get on my tip list.
All right. Madam Clerk, I think we're down to hearing of citizens upon public matters. Do we have any citizens signed up to speak today?
Yes, sir, we have 4 citizens.
All right, could you call them in the order that they signed up?
Yes, sir. Alicia Grubb,
Good afternoon, Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Cobb, and City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I came to speak today about filling the vacancy for Mr. Pretty's spot that will be coming up. I think that this is an important...
Hold on a second. I must say, I got a call from a citizen yesterday that said, a candidate who said, should I invite people down to speak on my behalf? I told them that I didn't think that was part of the process, and so because we didn't tell anybody else, as we normally do, that they could come down and speak on behalf of candidates.
No one asked me to speak. A couple weeks ago, when there was an article about there were some names, I don't even know everyone who's applied, but there were some names that were published of who had applied, and I had planned to speak after I knew the application deadline was Friday, so I signed up this weekend to speak today.
Well, I wanted to share that with council because I had an inquiry about that yesterday from a candidate, and I shared with him there was no forum for people to come down and represent or talk about, to speak on behalf of a candidate. If we're doing that, then...
Well, I don't know what Ms. Grubb is speaking about, if she's speaking about a candidate or if she's speaking about the process.
I was going to ask that question.
I was going to do both. I was going to speak about the process and then also speak on behalf of a candidate that I thought.
No, I don't feel comfortable with that, Mr. Mayor, because we did not advertise it for citizens' comments on any of the candidates. However, if she wants to speak on the process, I am amenable to that, but not on a particular candidate that she supports.
I agree,
Yes,
because
sir.
we didn't open that up. I mean, just as we did with school board members, we told people that they could come down and represent an individual and talk about or speak on behalf of that individual. So if I allow you to do it, we got about 13 people here that apparently didn't have this opportunity to have somebody come down and speak on their behalf. So you can talk about the process, but not about a candidate.
Okay. All right. Well, what I was going to say is I think that this is an important spot. Even though it's only 6 months, our city has a lot of transition coming. We have a major election that will result in a new mayor and 3 new city council members, and we have transition in the city manager's office. I read that Mayor Lee said, we want someone who maybe has some experience in government, and I agree with that. I believe there are some people who have applied with that experience, and I would encourage City Council to look at someone who has experience to help with that transition. But not just someone who has experience. Hopefully someone who lives in the city of Roanoke and who has been living in the city of Roanoke and working hard in our communities. Somebody who has not just worked in government in the past and then gone to sit on boards or to their jobs, but who has kept boots on the ground, working in our neighborhoods and communities with businesses and with citizens to do good for the city of Roanoke. Someone who can come in and doesn't just know the process and how to vote and how to handle city council meetings, but who knows the issues that are facing our city, who knows what neighborhoods are facing, who knows what citizens are facing, and can hit the ground running to advocate for actual issues and people facing our city, and to help the transition from now until the new election and the new city manager and staff are hired. And so I encourage you to keep that in mind as you look at the candidates that have applied, and I appreciate your efforts in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, who's the next speaker?
Brian McConnell.
Thank you, Mayor Lee, City Council members, Interim City Manager. These are interesting times. Having landed here in Southwest Virginia as a Southern California transplant, at a point in time, Barack Obama was seeking election as president. I've seen a total of 3 Roanoke city managers come and go over that same interim. Likewise, as a citizen, reasonably engaged myself in civic processes during that time, but especially since the COVID epidemic, I've become increasingly concerned about both my and my loved ones' well-being with the unfolding of time. As we look at agenda item number 3, the hearing of citizens upon public matters. The same period of time that I'm referring to, I've had the opportunity of direct engagement in civic activity, working especially with Chris Morrell. This item number 3 was never an issue for me personally with respect to my acquaintance to Mr. Morrell. City council members are bearing responsibility. A lot of you have been, with the possible exception of Vice Mayor Cobb, who I've known for an extended time and worked on a community basis with. This overall process of governance, and this is really what I'm talking about, governance involving change and the well-being of a citizenry. Frankly, I'm not here to critique, but I am here to encourage individual responsibility that goes with both leadership and governance. And, just the freedom to express my voice. Thank you.
Chloe Johnson.
Good afternoon. Thanks for taking the time. I'm here to talk about shade canopies for our playgrounds. This is a matter that was not brought to my attention until I had a child 18 months ago. And I've worked with a lot of children. I worked at the Boys and Girls Club for 3 years and didn't even cross my mind until I started using these playgrounds. And a good friend of mine pointed out to me that there are ways to enhance our playgrounds and make them safer for children, that other cities are implementing these shade canopies so we can get greater use out of them. I'm seeing some nods, and I feel like, you could ask anyone and they would say this is obviously a good idea. So we're really just here to keep, advocating and reminding and seeing how we can actually make this happen. My friend was just past the deadline, so I'm hoping she can share this time with me because she has some great points and has done a lot of research around the benefits that these can bring. So here's Christine.
I hope that it's okay that we're sharing our time. Yes. Okay. So I was here a couple weeks ago, and after I posted me speaking to the council, I got a lot of support from other families around Roanoke, and they would love to be here and speak about the same issue, but Monday at 2 p.m. is not an easy time to come. And so someone brought to my attention the issue of skin health. There was a melanoma cancer survivor who reached out to me and said that, they're unable to use the playgrounds because it's too hot, and so shade canopies would help enable their families to get out and play and use these spaces that you guys have provided for us, and have it be a safe place for everyone in the community to be able to use, not just the people who are stay-at-home moms, but maybe other demographics who aren't able to enjoy memberships or indoor play spaces such as Kid Square. So creating these safe spaces so that everyone can use. There's another thing that I was thinking of. Oh, also on the topic of like inclusivity, we would also maybe like to bring up the topic of maybe for future playgrounds renovations to include families in this process and kind of keep us in mind, keeping caretakers of all ages. There's a lot of grandparents here that take care of their grandchildren, so they also need a safe space for them, whether it's shade or benches for them to sit at. So possibly creating a committee that includes the citizens and families of Roanoke so that you can use our ideas because we are the ones who are using these playgrounds.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak, please? Were you the one that came 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
And I believe our policy is to refer to the city manager for study and report and to respond as he deemed appropriate. I don't know if that was followed through since it was 2 weeks ago to have that handled in the administration. I take it that no one has reached out to you since you spoke. So that's why I'm inquiring. I'm looking at the ACMs instead of looking directly here. But would like some kind of response to, for them to take away.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, is it on? Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, the city clerk just indicated she would give me the list with their names and numbers on. They will be followed back up with from our office, and you'll get a report back after we determine exactly how we can address the matter.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we've got your information. We'll get back. Okay, you got that for me. Yes, ma'am.
Owen McGuire.
Members of council, Mr. Mayor, thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I'm going to speak today about the cottage at Fishburne Park. But before I do, I want to welcome Dr. Patton here. We're glad to have your past city government experience working for us here in Roanoke.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Again, my name is Owen McGuire. I'm here to talk about Fishburne Park. I wanted to update you on all the developments, or should I say non-development of the Fishburne Park Cottage. There's 3 pages there I've got. It's a handout, and I'll refer to them shortly. Since the city and the Van Bericon developers closed on the Fishburne Park Cottage of 1 acre of land for the price of $10 on September 30th, 2023, no construction activity has begun there. There's been some bushes trimmed, some appliances taken out, some siding removed from the bottom to inspect damage to the foundation. If you look at the first letter I sent you there, it's from the city manager. It's dated, I think, June 20th of 23, a year ago. As you can see, the former city manager's letter it's the amended number 2 contract that was eventually approved by council after previously denying the contract. 1.5 acres of land along Brambleton are to be maintained as recreational open space and green space. If you look at the second page, again, it refers to that. It's a copy of the contract that states approximately 0.5 acres will be maintained as open space with only those uses allowed under the recreational open space and allowed on the 0.5 acre of the property. Since the beginning of March, the developers have allowed a food truck to operate there on a continuing basis at the entrance to the park on Brambleton Avenue in defiance of their own self-imposed restrictions that they applied to the land. Up until now, the city has not pursued zoning violations against the food truck. I would like to know if council is aware of the non-compliance regarding construction performance of the contract. If you look at the third page there's a reference to the construction performance. After 90 days, there's supposed to be a $100 a day fee paid by the developers. I don't know if they've been assessed that or not. I wonder if council envisioned the use of this land for everyday food truck when they approved of the contract. While neglecting the renovations and preservation of the actual cottage renovation, which was the primary reason for giving the Van Blaricon developers this tremendous gift of 1.1 acres and beautiful park and with a historic cottage attached to it. I guess the developers are just biding their time before they decide to start bringing in beer trucks on the weekend. I hope council will look at this situation at Fishburne Park and try to remedy the bad feelings, distrust, and non-compliance this deal has created. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll refer this to our city manager to follow up on your concerns.
This concludes the speakers.
That concludes.
Yes.
All right. That concludes all of our speakers on the hearing of citizens upon public matters. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by members of City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussions of the items. If discussion is desired, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There are two closed meetings that I want to call your attention to. One meeting from the mayor's office to discuss a selection of a candidate for the interim city council member position pursuant to section 2.2-3711 Code of Virginia as amended. Can I discuss both of them instead of just voting on each one separately?
You can do them both together.
Yeah.
As part of the consent agenda.
Yeah.
That is permissible.
Okay. All right, and also we have a request from our city attorney that we convene in a closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711A7 Code of Virginia to consult with legal counsel regarding a certain legal matter requiring the provisions of legal advice by the city attorney. All right. Those are the two closed sessions. I need a motion.
So moved, the motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All right. Madam Clerk, call roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds.
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye. All right. Thank you. The consent agenda is approved. We move now to the regular agenda, which is there are no public hearings today. And item number 6 is petitions and communication. We have a presentation by the YMCA of Virginia's Blue Ridge to highlight the Beacons Middle School initiative. Jonathan Patch, Branch Executive Director of the Gainesboro YMCA, is the spokesperson, and this is being sponsored by Council Members Moon Reynolds and Councilmember Balson. So I'm going to call on, is Jonathan? Yeah, Jonathan. And Jonathan, you have 10 minutes, but we'll work with you.
Sounds good. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, Deputy Clerk, thank you so much for having the YMCA here today to present what I think is an extremely important and vital demographic here in Roanoke City, and that is our teens and how we support and how we nurture our teens during this time. I do have a presentation here. It'll be brief. Do you mind if I pull that up?
No, sir.
Okay, great. Excellent. So this is called the Beacons Initiative. And the Beacons Initiative really focuses on middle schoolers for Roanoke City Public Schools. You know, in the past, when we talked about childcare, mainly we talked about kids that were kindergarten through fifth grade and providing a safe space for that demographic. But I think we have found really in the past couple of decades that there is a great need for us to pay attention to middle schoolers and high schoolers, the needs that they have and nurturing them. So the YMCA created the Beacons Initiative with that purpose in mind. Am I doing this right?
You can use the mouse to stay, the mouse,
Okay.
or you can use the
Okay.
pointer.
All right, that's great. So the purpose, and this didn't translate very well from the YMCA to here, but we'll roll with it anyway. Really, the purpose of the Beacons Initiative is a collaboration between the YMCA and Roanoke City Public Schools, where we provide a nurturing environment during after school for our middle school kids. And really what we try to do is support their mind, body, and spirit. That's just kind of what the YMCA does in general. And we certainly extend that during our Beacons program. And you said the mouse. Excellent, okay. So the history of the Beacons program, it was part of our strategic plan of the YMCA of Virginia's Blue Ridge back in 2019. And a bunch of us went to Queens, New York, and took a look at a program that we felt was very similar to what we wanted to do. And we kind of came back to Roanoke very fired up about that program, and really we had a great desire to implement something similar to that in the Roanoke Valley. So from that, we did a lot of community assessment. We talked to people, we talked to the communities that we wanted to implement this program. Everybody was very excited about having that, and from that, we went to the schools themselves and talked to the kids about this program. And whether the kids, we knew the kids wanted to do it, but we wanted to know what they wanted to do. So I'm going to do it this way here. So we were at Addison for 2 days talking to the kids about what they would want in an after-school program at Addison. And from that meeting, we really put together the program that today became the Beacons program. So this is our calendar, our schedule. We are currently at James Madison Middle School, and also we are looking to be at Fishwick Middle School, and we're at James Madison, Lucy Addison, and possibly Fishwick. And in those programs, we run 3:30 to 5:30 at both of those schools. And, you know, this is critical time for middle schoolers. It's right after the school day. And so if they're not having a program after school, they're really considered latchkey kids who go home to unsupervised parents. And really, in most cases, they really don't have a place to go. And some of the choices that they can make during that time really are unproductive and dangerous. So that is the time that we have this program. And then paramount to these programs is our workshops that we do. We partner with Virginia Western that does STEM projects for our kids. We partner with numerous organizations in the community to come in and really expose these kids to hopefully what would be their passion. So in these pictures, some of these were videos, but I'm going to skip through this so that you can just kind of see some of the partners that we have in this program. So in the program, we do yoga and meditation. So we bring somebody in for mindfulness, so the kids learn breathing techniques, how to calm themselves, relax themselves, focus. We also partner with the Jefferson Music Lab. They teach them music production. They just kind of get their hands on guitars and drums and they play them, and you know, really hopefully creates that passion for the arts. Of course, being the YMCA, we do physical activity with them. We do physical workshops with them using the facilities at the schools. We do cooking classes in these programs where we teach the kids nutrition. The Gainesboro YMCA is located in a food desert where many of the parents and many of the families are getting their food from convenience stores. So it's important to the Gainesboro YMCA to expose these kids to nutrition, how to eat right. Where does food come from? So that is a program that's very important to the Beacons Initiative. And then, of course, we do a Beacon Summer Camp. Right now, we have 37 kids that are registered for our Beacon Summer Camp that starts next week on Monday. And it's key, and during the summer, we all know that having a productive, fun, educational place for these kids to go during the summer is paramount. In addition to them registering for our program, they also get a free YMCA membership. So these kids can come to the YMCA at any time and do whatever they would like at the YMCA during this summer camp. So really trying to support our middle school kids. And just a little bit of data on these programs. When we first started in 2022, we've been doing these programs for 2.5 years. We started with a pilot program at Addison for a semester. When we first started in 2022, we had 70 registrations for a regular school year. We had 15 for summer camps. The following year, we had 148 registrations for our after-school program and 43 for summer camp. So we're seeing some astronomical growth in this program because I think the community is starting to realize that it is a great need that we have. And then I just wanted to briefly talk about funding. The great thing about these programs, everything we've done for the past 2.5 years has been free to every family that we've done. They do not have to pay a penny for these programs. So we've been allowed to do that through two ways, grants and through charitable donations from the community. So I say that because when we first started the program, people were very passionate about the program. They gave financially to the program. 2.5 years later, our funding is starting to wane a little bit. So I would ask the city if there are initiatives that align with what the YMCA is doing to support our teens and support our youth. Please let us know so we can partner together with that. I just want to thank you again for letting me present today. And does anybody have any questions about the Beacons program?
Let me go to Ms. Moon Reynolds, and then I'll go to Mr. Boss.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pate. I have to say first and foremost that, as you know, I am a strong supporter and advocate for the youth. I do believe in, especially those that are underserved, the marginalized ones, when we look at what goes on after school time. I was one of those parents that was fortunate when my children was growing up. I had a private sitter, but as they got older, stress would come on me in the city clerk's office when they got to 13 to 16 and up, because like you said, things started happening during those hours, and I was always getting those calls from one of the youngest ones to tell on the older ones. And I was blessed when I started taking care of my grandchildren. With my youngest one, she was able to go to the cafe. That's the only thing pretty much was in place for you going into middle school. Anything after first grade to fifth grade, you didn't have anything, so I'm glad to see this come about. I do know, I was looking over here where you mentioned your educational programs and how it's now is free. What is your criteria when you are looking at the kids registering? How do you pick the ones that can come over the ones that you just don't have the capacity for?
Absolutely. So a lot of these programs, they may already have after-school programs in those schools. So we try to figure out, first of all, what the school is doing after school or what other programs they may have. And then we work with the guidance, the school counselors and the principals at those schools to find kids that if this program did not exist, they would truly fall through the cracks. It's not necessarily purely academic needs that the kids have, but it's also social needs. A lot of times the school counselors know the family situations of these children, so they help us tremendously at the school level to target the kids that participate in this program. And that really becomes our criteria, working hand in hand with the school system. 21st Century, I know community learning centers also exist in Roanoke City Schools that does a lot of academics and SOL-based remediation. So we try to be educational. We try to what I like to call edutain the kids. So we're educating them, but we're also having fun with what we're doing to educate them. And one of the major things that Roanoke City Public Schools does for us is provide the teachers for this program. So teachers come in from Roanoke City Schools to be able to support the kids in the Beacons program. So that is kind of our criteria, is those that would really fall through the cracks.
You may have mentioned it. What is your time period that you run your program?
Yeah, we usually start the program sometime in early to mid-October, once the school is kind of settled. Also, that gives us time to pass out and market the program to the school and get applications back so we can do that vetting for targeting of the kids. So it's usually in early to mid-October, and we usually go through mid-May. A couple weeks after they start their SOL testing is when we end the program.
And then do you do what, did you say for the summer?
Yeah.
You run it through the summer?
Summer usually starts a couple weeks after the school year ends. This week or this year, it's June 24th.
And that's the free membership?
It's the free membership and free registration for the summer camp. All that's free.
And these are the same children that you're running through the program from October, or this a different set of children when it comes to this summer programs?
Yeah, all middle school students are welcome during the summer.
Yeah.
So if you're a middle school student, not only just with Roanoke City Schools, but we invite, if the county, other school districts would like to bring middle schoolers, the only criteria is you're a rising 6th through 8th grader.
Okay. And do you follow up with any of them after the summer, to see how they're faring, especially when you're looking at the programs that you offer, the workshops? Mainly I'm interested in is the one for the physical fitness side and the mindfulness where you mentioned helping kids to understand, to deal with anger, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. We usually evaluate these programs through surveys. And we do student surveys, and we will begin to do parent surveys as well. And a lot of that is included in the surveys. Really, was it beneficial to you? Was it something, was the mindfulness something that helped you be calm? These are the kind of questions that we ask in that on those surveys.
And then last, you mentioned that your funding is starting to wind down. Is that, if anyone is interested or agency willing to partner with you, do they just reach out to you and discuss that with you?
Sure. I mean, they can certainly call the Gainsboro YMCA. They could also reach out to YMCA of Virginia's Blue Ridge at the Kirk Family YMCA, and they will probably direct them to either myself or our development director.
And are you putting out any information on the need for scholarships or funding or partnerships now to see if you can get others to come aboard with you?
Yes, ma'am. That's pretty constant, that we are seeking grants, we're seeking funds, we're getting the word out to those that have a passion for middle school kids to fund these programs.
Okay, and then you did mention asking the city to offer some assistance, so I hope we may be able to come forth and do something as well.
Absolutely.
All right,
that would be
thank
greatly appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hold up, I think that was just me, with all my questions.
Sure, sorry.
A lot of them.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Mr. Pate, I just wanted to thank you for coming down and making this presentation, because there are a lot of folks that probably don't know about these programs for middle schoolers. And yes, middle school is one of the toughest times. So I'm glad to see this, especially with, we've had a lot of youth gun violence, making sure that there's someone somewhere for those kids to be after school. I know I actually was a kid at the Y when I was in elementary school and swam for our Y team. So if I hadn't had all that, I probably would have been in jail by now. I was a really hyperactive kid. But that's really, I really just want to thank you for that. And is there a program for high schoolers? Because I know there's an elementary school, Magic Place. What is the high school program that you guys have? Just
The
briefly.
Kirk Family YMCA runs what's called a RISE 540 program. They do monthly field trips, also activities within the Kirk Family YMCA. So that program is available to all high schoolers.
Excellent. Okay, so you've got all grades covered at this point.
Yeah, thank you,
But thank you again for coming in and your presentation and for the work that y'all do.
thank you.
Yeah, by the time it gets to me, like I just pointed to this, to Mr. Bolson, I was going to ask about the Rise 540, if it was still, you were still doing that. That's a wonderful program. I'm glad you're still doing that. Did I hear you say your capacity for the program, for the Beacon program? Is there a capacity? What is it?
Yeah, for the summer program, it's 50 kids.
50?
So we still have room for more kids. We have 37 registered at this point.
Right now? Well, you won't after this, because you know you're
Okay,
live on
yeah,
TV.
that'd be great, yeah.
So so it's 50. Now, do you provide any transportation? Because like Woodrow Wilson, you don't have a program there. So if you had students from Woodrow, do you have transportation that could get some of those students there? Or if their parents wanted to bring them, they could do that. You do have, you're saying yes?
We have transportation from RCPS Plus, which is their summer program, which ends at 3. So we provide a YMCA bus to James Madison to pick up any kids who participate in the Roanoke City Public Schools summer program, and we take them from there to the Kirk Family Y.
Okay.
And we have quite a few of that 37 that we will be picking up and bringing over to Kirk. Otherwise, the parents would drop their children off at the Kirk Family YMCA at 3:30 and pick them up at 6.
Okay, so if they were coming from Fishwick or Woodrow, they could just be dropped off?
Dropped off and then picked back up at 6. Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
For answering my question, Ms. May.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. I've been able to see your work, and certainly y'all have been involved in some of the prevention efforts related to gun violence reduction and mentoring and connecting with the kids. I was excited to see that you talk about adding a 3rd middle school, and I'm wondering if long-term is your hope to be at all the middle schools? Can you talk a little bit about that long-term strategy and how we might be supportive of you in that?
Absolutely. We have been in conversation with the superintendent and the chief academic officer about extending these programs, expanding, and I do believe it's the desire of Roanoke City Schools that we do have them in all 5 sites. Certainly, it's contingent on funding to make sure that we can properly support all 5 of those programs. But yeah, the eventual goal is to have them in all 5 of our middle schools.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for having me.
All right, now we're now down to item number 7, which is report of city officers and comments of the interim city manager. Dr. Patton, do you have any comments you'd make at this time? Or
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, again, I'm very humbled and honored to be serving you. Some of the comments that you have made in regard to the progress that the Star City has made, and today meeting with the mayor, I shared with him that cities across the Commonwealth really need to look at Roanoke and the things that you all are doing. Just the presentation that this gentleman just made, as you know, I was a documenter, and I wrote down, what will children do without adult guidance? Many things that could destroy their future, and you just said, where would we be? So these are the kinds of programs that are model programs that really would serve children across this Commonwealth very well. Asking what will our team do, we will follow up with Mr. Platt, provide information back to you, because I think through your leadership, whatever it is that can be the betterment of children or this city, you're all in and trying to find a way to do it. This is only my 7th day here, and I have been spending time listening, learning, meeting staff and citizens, and I'll continue that kind of approach probably throughout the month. I can't get to see everybody, but I did say to Ms. McGill today, I've got to get around and see these departments. I've got to get out, but I'm one person with a great team, and we'll just continue to forge forward. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Patton, you're up again on briefings. You have some briefings that come before council?
Yes. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council, Mrs. Trent will come up and provide you with a monthly budget report, unaudited. Mrs. Trent.
Good afternoon. We are very, very close to year end, so thank you, Mayor and members of council, to allow me to speak and let you know where we are through the end of May. As we approach year end, in the finance area, we are super excited. We've got a lot of things on the plate. We finish year end. We're looking forward to our audit, and I say that tongue-in-cheek. Not that there's anything wrong, but it's always a fun time of year. And we are also putting in a new financial system, so we are a bit busy. We're excited. Everybody is on board. We've done lots of training as it relates to the new financial system. We are ready. We're just hoping to get through the next 2 weeks so that we can go live. My presentation today is really financial related. If we look at our first slide, it's going to provide us information on our revenue summary through the end of May. If you want to take a look, if we look at the top part of the slide for our general property taxes, the one of note that you're probably going to concentrate on are our personal property tax. And as you know, our property tax deadline date is the end of May. So we are still collecting dollars, and what we are collecting at this point are considered delinquent. But we are ahead of the pace if we look year over year from last year. So that number is reflective of a May 31st deadline date and not a full collection at this point. We again, a little ahead of where we were last year if we look at that particular number. If we drop to the second part of the slide and we look at other taxes, sales tax, we trended very well through April and had exceeded expectations through April. In May, we were under about $300,000, so we kind of reversed our numbers, and it is currently taking us a little under budget. We're about $170,000 under budget with this report. Consumer utility taxes is also of note. We seem to be trending well with our power and our water. Our gas utilities seem down just a little bit. We're theorizing it's possibly due to a mild winter. We didn't see the numbers that we had seen from the year before. If we look at our bank stocks, we actually received a deposit in June that takes that number up to where we need to be and slightly over our budget. So we're trending well there. If I drop to the next slide, which are our non-local taxes, lots of information here. Our permits and license, you're seeing our building inspection fees are driving the revenue here. We continue to outperform our target in this particular area. If you look at revenue from use of money, this one has really been, for lack of a better way to say it, a cash cow this year. We have the Fed rate up, which is providing great interest rates to us. The ARPA funds that we have deposited and our debt proceeds are making our balance well, and so the interest income on that is also doing well for us. If we look at grants and aid to Commonwealth, it's a favorable comparison over our previous year. Social services, compensation board, street maintenance are the primary drivers here. If we look at our grants and aid, the federal component, this is really an area that we're no longer going to receive this in the general fund. It's going to move to a grant fund. So it looks a little weird here, but we won't see this line going forward because it won't be reported under our general fund. Charges for services, this is basically due to increased fees from our public safety area. It continues to meet our monthly targets, and we expect to exceed our budget here. Let's see, probably our non-operating, it may be an area that you want to look at, although those numbers look pretty good, and those really are related to one-time costs associated with with our replacement of ambulance, snow rental, elevator costs, and these are related to transfers that we're seeing in dollars coming in for non-operating pieces. So a little bit ugly, but it's specific projects, and we're saying that those are from our capital project funds into this particular area for specific things that we've targeted. If we hop down to our next slide, we're looking at our expenditure summary. This one always, if we're going to come in under budget, we like to say it's under our expenditure side so that we've been monitoring those. These are really pretty much on target of what we would have expected if we look at our expenditures. Let me get my cheat sheet notes on those. So if we're looking at our expenditures, the non-departmental, if you look at those, that's really our transfer out to our schools and an expected expenditure. Our public safety, if you look at that particular area, it's basically the dollar increase year over year is related to our compensation efforts that we have both in our sheriff, police, and fire areas. So those numbers are running where we expect them to run. General government, that's really our salary and wage increase year over year that shows the increase in those dollars. And if we look at our community development area, we don't really see that as an issue. We had some expenditures last year that we didn't see this year. If we pop down to judicial administration, again, the overtime and temp wages in the sheriff's department are really the drivers that we're seeing on that particular unit. So we're very close to the target as far as the budget goes there from a total perspective, and we're not really seeing any issues that we are aware of as we get through to end of May and 2 weeks into June. What else can I tell you? We're excited for year end. This is 1 year, we're so excited. The new system, everybody's exciting, it's very intuitive. So the old clunky system that the folks who weren't accounting geeks hated, they're really liking it in training, so we're excited about that as well.
I just had one question.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything that you know of that caused that sales tax decline in that month, or do you feel we're going to?
I think we're going to be okay. It was really a flip-flop between April and May, which we weren't expecting, but it's not really raising any flags at this point.
Okay.
So Ms. Trent, I'm glad you answered that question. I called you earlier. I knew you were going to cover it, but that bank stop taxes, is that deposit always sometime the end of May or in June?
It is, and
so we should always expect that?
We do, and it depends. Sometimes it's late May versus June, and so it messes up the month to month or the fiscal year to date. So it happened to pop in sometime in June this year. So it skewed the totals year to date. We're fine. Just didn't happen at the same time this year that it did last year.
I appreciate that. That was the only reason I called you earlier, because I was, and you covered it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh, Angela, thank you.
You're very welcome.
For what you've been able to do and doing your pinch hitting, and appreciate that. All right, we now move down to items recommended for action. A recommendation of Roanoke Arts Commission for funding of qualified agencies for fiscal year 2024, 2025. There are two measures. One is a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution concurring with and approving the recommendations of the Roanoke Arts Commission's allocation of city funds to various nonprofit agencies for fiscal year 2024 to 2025.
All right, is there any questions or comments from council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds. Mayor Lee.
Aye. And the resolution passes. We got a budget ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, if we could hold off on this until the return of Ms. Moon Reynolds. Otherwise,
on
we
the
would
budget
have,
ordinance?
even with every vote on the dais, we would have to
Read it again.
read it at another meeting.
So do we need to do the same, do we need to do over the vote that we just?
Resolution, just simple majority.
budget
pass.
order.
Okay.
suffices.
So is the item B, is that a resolution?
It's a resolution.
Well, if we could just have a short recess until she returns, or just,
We'll have a short recess. We got a long evening planned, but we'll have, not a long evening, but in a closed session. But we'll be in recess for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
All right, we have a budget ordinance and need a motion on the budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, can you read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to transfer funding to specific art commission agencies, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2024-2025 general fund appropriations and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right. We do have the Honorable Doug Jackson here today. Doug, anything you want to?
I've already tried, Mayor, he wouldn't cooperate.
Okay. All right. If there are no further discussion from members of council, we'll call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb,
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd,
Aye.
Mr. Volleson,
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds,
Aye.
and Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. Item B is the acceptance of the ALA Library Capacity Building Grant Award for the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution. Second.
Madam Clerk, can you read the title paragraph for the resolution?
A resolution authorizing acceptance of the ALA Library Capacity Building Grant made to the City of Roanoke Sheriff's Office by the American Library Association and authorizing execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city.
All right, well, we do have the Honorable Sheriff Antonio Ash here. If he would have anything to say, or just we move right through this.
It's up to you, Mayor. I'm here to support you.
All right, any question, discussion by members of council? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb,
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd,
Aye.
Mr. Volleson,
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds,
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. All right, we have a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the American Library Association for the ALA Capacity Building Grant, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2023-2024 grant fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, thank you. Any discussion by members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb,
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd,
Aye.
Mr. Volleson,
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds,
Aye.
and Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. Item number C is the acceptance of the 2024 National Endowment for the Arts, our Town Grant Award. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution. Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution authorizing the acceptance of the National Endowment for the Arts Grant to the City of Roanoke and authorizing execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions by members of council? Vice Mayor.
I would love if Doug could come talk about this a little bit, and I'm curious if this is, provides for continuation of the current program that we have for neighborhood engagement.
Yes, Vice Mayor Cobb. Greetings, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Dr. Patton. Yes, this is for the, I got a button that says Arts Connect Roanoke, and we have a program called Arts Connect Neighbors, and this is a partnership with the Roanoke Cultural Endowment, the Roanoke Neighborhood Advocates, and anybody who lives in a Roanoke neighborhood can get together with their neighbors and request free art activities that can connect them with their neighbors. And this is a program, we're doing it this year. We've already scheduled 40 activities in neighborhoods, and we're really excited about them. We're seeing them happen on the weekends. We were out this weekend and saw 2 funded performances and activities. And we just think it's a way to connect us and kind of put a spark behind some of the neighborhood organizations. And we all know how the pandemic has kind of given us a blow, and we're still recovering from that. So this is a follow-on activity, and we're going to make this available, this catalog that folks can get. It's roanokearts.org/neighbors, and they can go on there and make the request to us, and we'll pay for the activity. And then as a next step, next year, we also hope to promote this with civic organizations, corporations, churches who want to connect people and engage in the neighborhood and also beyond. We just see it as a revenue stream for our arts-based businesses, and we see it as really positive things that can help connect us.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I just follow up? Mr. Jackson, I just have one question. You mentioned out in the neighborhoods, which neighborhoods have you been so far within the quadrants that you've been a participant in?
Oh, so we're getting out, our plan is to get out everywhere.
Right.
You know, we've had a number in Northwest, we've got one happening in Southeast, we've got a couple happening in Southwest. This weekend, I was over, the Grandin Court neighborhood had requested one. So we're...
Yeah, because I know you're everywhere. That's why I wanted to put it out there.
Yeah.
You're across it, all across the whole city.
We're really...
But I was just trying to put it out there that you have been in the inner city as well as the other quadrants of the city.
Thank you. I appreciate that question, and I do want to let folks know that you don't have to have an organized nonprofit organization to take advantage of this. You can just connect with your neighbors, get 6 or 8 neighbors together and say, we want to have a block party. And our whole reason to do this is so we can get involved with them. And I'm working really closely with Molly Hunter from Neighborhood Services. And we're saying, hey, here's how you can use the block kit. We'll pay for the artists to come out. What are your goals in doing this? And how can we help you achieve your goals for your neighborhood? And that's the first step in the larger conversation. What do you want to see happen in your neighborhood? And how can we make it happen, this year, next year, years from now, as we start our neighborhood planning process?
Right, and I noticed on here when you used one of your samples of services, the one that really interested me was the mural. I love the murals throughout the city, especially those that I visit when I'm out of town. Where you're saying a mural who helps a neighborhood identify a wall and create a design to energize the street. That one I think is worth promoting, as you say, neighbors getting together. If there's a business in their community that may be interested, that has a wall, they may want to contact you.
And we've got three walls happening on private property coming up, which we're really excited about. And well, you're going to see a lot more happening. By the end of the summer, I think there are 7 more projects that we're involved in right now. In the catalog, a neighborhood can request a mini mural, like a miniature mural across their neighborhood, which would be a little bit of a different take, but we have an artist who proposed that in the catalog.
Okay, well, thank you.
Mr. Jackson, since we have you now, can you, because I know we have it, but a lot of times the folks watching, our residents, don't know exactly. Can you just give us some examples of the kinds of projects that they may be able to participate in? Just run down a couple, or some of the things that are happening now.
Sure. Well, one activity that we've got a mix of things that are happening now and the things that we want to see happening, because our goal is to have every item, and we have 50 items in the catalog. We want all of them to be selected. So one of them is a Latin dance party. And we will pay for Roanoke Ballet Theater to come into your neighborhood, and they will do a performance, then a lesson, and then get you started on a dance party.
All right, I'm going to do that one.
All right. I would love to see that happen. And then,
sounds like let's one for Round Hill.
And then Mish Moves, who we work closely with, Mish Moves will come and do training, movement performance, dance lessons, hip-hop dance lessons for 3 different age groups. So you can get the kids in your neighborhood. And really, most of our neighborhoods have great fellowship halls in churches. A number of the churches want to be a center for activity and community, especially this very positive activity. So we like to see these kind of partnerships happen. So someone could grab a fellowship hall and then put on free dance classes for their kids that might get them, involved in something really positive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That one is in my neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
I can do that one. Thank you.
Great. All right, any other further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds.
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. There's a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the federal government National Endowment for the Arts funded Our Town Grant, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2023-2024 grant fund appropriations and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, any discussion by members of council? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds.
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. Item D is the acceptance of the Henrietta Lacks sculpture into the public art collection. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution accepting the Henrietta Lacks sculpture into the City of Roanoke Public Art Collection.
All right, is there any discussion by members of council? Ms. White Boyd?
No, it's yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say, this is so exciting that she officially belongs to us. And with that, she comes with just a little bit of a responsibility. She has to be cleaned semi-annually, and I've gotten the instructions from the sculptor, and I forwarded those to Dr. Patton and also to Ms. McFalls, so that she will know what it is that she needs to do. Twice a year is all it calls for, but we want to do it because we don't want her beautiful bronze to become green. And also, we talked about stepping stones that we haven't done yet, but I hope that we will still do that to make sure, because, people, you can see it from a distance, but just to get close to her, touch her hand and look at her shoes. And like Dr. Patton went to see her on Sunday, and she was asking me what was around the base, and I said, it's petals, but you really can't see it because you have to be so far back. So, those stepping stones would be nice, and then cleaning it twice a year so that we can make sure that she continues to look good. And all of the residents who contributed and all the businesses who contributed to make that happen, I just want to say thank you again. We just can't thank you enough for what we've done with bringing that statue to our downtown center, actually. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Let me just add, I had a chance to meet some residents from Halifax County, which is where she lives, and they're going to put up a statue of her on October 4th. I think that's her, is that her birthday? October 4th down there, and they'll advise us.
But actually, I think that her birthday is in August.
Well,
And I
October
think
4th.
October the 4th was when she passed away. I think that's when they said Henrietta Lacks Day.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Virginia.
Yeah.
So it's October 4th. They'll be notifying us of when that'll occur. They'd like for some of us to come down as they came up here in
So
significant
they're
numbers.
getting ready to unveil. Sounds like, that's good.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Cobb.
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds.
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Item E is a resolution initiating amendments to the zoning code. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution to initiate amendments of the city's zoning ordinance by, 1, repealing the March 18, 2024 zoning amendments, and then 2, adopting zoning amendments similar in substance to the March 18, 2024 zoning amendments, and referring consideration of such zoning amendments to the Planning Commission for review and recommendation.
All right, I'm pleased to recognize Mr. Chittum.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, like for Mr. Christopher Chittum to speak with you.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Patton. Mayor Lee, Vice Mayor Cobb, and members of council, back about 3 months ago, it was when you adopted an important set of amendments to the zoning ordinance that removed the exclusionary elements from the zoning ordinance. About a month later, within the appeal period, there was a lawsuit filed against the city. And so the content of the resolution kind of explains what we're going, when you adopt it, that will set us on a path to re-adopt essentially the same substance and make sure that the procedural requirements are done over under a new code section that will go into, the state code section that will go into effect on July 1. So we will be able to take advantage of better clarity in the state code that tells us how we need to, in a very prescriptive way, how we need to advertise these public hearings and go through this adoption process. So Mr. Spencer may have additional detail for you, and I don't have a presentation at this time, but I will have a considerable presentation when we come back. I'm just here available for answering any questions that you may have.
Any discussion, members of council? Mr. Spencer?
Just real quickly, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is to start the process, even if, just for any of those out there that would say, oh, why don't you just repeal it? Well, you can't. You have to go through a process, and this would be the process. Likewise, for adoption or re-adoption in this instance, we have to go through the process and to document that process. That's why you're seeing this resolution, this initiation resolution to initiate the process, is it makes it very clear within the four corners of the document. Now, do we believe that we followed the proper process before? Yes, but that was done in a little more informal way, where there was a motion made, which the code allows, at the Planning Commission. This takes away all doubt and allows us to move forward in a more efficient and transparent way. Quite frankly, I like this process, and you might see this process being used more often when we do code amendments in the future. So, happy to answer any questions that council might have.
You have a question?
I just have a statement, or there's some remarks that I wanted to make with regards to this resolution. And I state that after reading the report and the proposed resolution in its entirety, what is interesting to me is that city staff refuses to admit the errors that were made in the public notice that was required at that time to adopt the March 18th zoning amendments, especially when questions were raised by the public and even myself about some of the errors that was in the ad itself. But we had received a revised measure, but it was not the same one that was part of the ad. Instead, we ended up, you had to propose to settle for reasons of efficiency. There was litigation, which I also again had mentioned that would happen, but it was not, it fell on deaf ears at that time, and here we are now having to have litigation that challenged the flawed procedures that were utilized in March, and we're having to use taxpayers' dollars to settle that. So that I felt was one of my main concerns, was the litigation. Yet here we are again. Although the minimum requirement for citizen engagement was conducted, most citizens were unaware of the extensive amendments until after the March 18 council meeting, as you all know, which repealed the single-family zoning citywide. While I appreciate the recommendation to repeal the improperly enacted ordinance and hold a series of public hearings over the next several months, I disagree, however, when the ordinance is returned to the council for proper adoption, that this council should be limited to adopting amendments, quote, similar in substance to the flawed amendments adopted on March 18, which I did oppose. I have consistently advocated for citizens' voices to be heard. However, I do not believe the hands of council should be constrained in rectifying past mistakes. If staff returns with an ordinance that simply replicates the March 18 amendments without any substantial changes, I will be compelled to vote no again. The proposed resolution incorrectly emphasizes that, and this is my opinion, that March 18th amendments were primarily about, quote, types of housing, and, quote, a range of housing options, such as townhouses and duplexes. This obscures the true impact of the amendments. A significant increase in housing density across all neighborhoods, including my own. It appears that staff is attempting to downplay this critical aspect from public scrutiny. And due to that lack of transparency regarding the major impacts of this March 18 ordinance, which staff has not adequately addressed, I will be voting against the adoption of this resolution. Thank you.
Name, Mr. Mayor.
Well, he's gonna come down the road.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Balsam.
Mr. Mayor, I would just have a couple comments in regards to what Ms. Moon just said. Some of it blatantly not true, as in taxpayer, taxpayer dollars being used to settle. The lawsuit has not been settled, and there has been no taxpayer dollars used to settle this. And I also want to commend our planning department for the great work that they have done. I know that Ms. Moon Reynolds does not believe the numbers like I do. The information that you have presented to us about how we improve the number of choices we have for housing in our city. And so I just want to reiterate that I believe what you guys have said. I look forward to public hearings and being able to get that message back out to the folks and to re-voting on this in the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was agreeing with Ms. Moon Reynolds because I had a lot of feedback from a lot of residents, but I called again Mr. Spencer and spoke with him again. Well, actually twice. I called him twice to make sure I understood what we were doing. And he said, basically this is to initiate the process to repeal and to replace an amended ordinance. But we've not heard from the citizens. We've not had a public hearing. None of that has transpired. So I'm agreeing with you now, Mr. Volleson, that we have an opportunity now to hear from our residents. And this resolution is going to allow us to do that. So I felt a lot better knowing that this will open up that opportunity for folks who felt like they didn't have an opportunity to engage or weigh in before. They can now. So I would certainly be voting in favor of initiating a process for us to start over again. And that's what we're doing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Vice Mayor.
Well, I'll just say that I think 13 open houses is pretty robust in providing information. I welcome the opportunity for citizens to participate in this second round of meetings. And I encourage you to show up and ask questions and really look at the information. My understanding is that, the framework for most of this effort of zoning reform is to address segregation and redlining. That's historically been problematic in our communities. You can look at the redlining map in our city. Exclusionary zoning was created to keep people from living in certain parts of our city. This specifically addresses that history of segregation, and I hope that that will become part of the conversation and the information shared, because I feel certain that our city staff has not only thoroughly researched that, but will hopefully be able to present some of that information as part of this dialogue. If, we just received an All-America City Award because we've dared as a city to take on the difficult issues of segregation and racism in our community, and housing is absolutely a critical part of that conversation, and we have to talk about it. So I hope that as citizens, when we're having those conversations, we're not afraid to talk about the elephant in the room related to housing, zoning, and reform, which is segregation and redlining in the city of Roanoke. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. I think those are major factors, especially the segregation in our city, and I commend the Planning Commission for the work that they've done to do that. And so, again, as Vice Mayor stated, if there's citizens out there, come to the meeting, come to the hearing, speak up. I'm amazed at the things you get on phone calls and tidbits and all of this, but come to the hearing and let your voice be known and share that and get a good understanding of what we're trying to do with this zoning code. And so We'll see. We'll be coming back. Mr. Chittum, anything else you want to comment or say to this?
I didn't have anything else, just to answer questions.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, I think in this discussion, I think we're down to where we're ready to vote.
Yes.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
No.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye. And the resolution? Well, yeah, resolution passes. Passes. I kept my numbers here. Okay. All right, our next item is comments from Dr. Patton on city, for any comments that she may have.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, I have no more comments at this time.
Thank you. All right, the next item is City Attorney with none, reports of committees, 8-1. A report of the Roanoke City School Board requesting appropriation of funds for various educational programs, and a report of the interim city manager recommending that council concur in the request. Donna Caldwell, Director of Accounting, is the spokesperson. There's a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the Commonwealth, federal, and private grant for various educational programs, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2023-2024 school grant fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or comments on this budget ordinance? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. White Boyd?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye. And the budget ordinance passes. All right, item number 2 is a report of certain authorities, boards, committees, and commissions in which city council serves as liaisons or appointees. Are there any comments from city council on any boards or commissions that they serve on? All right, hearing none, we'll move on down to item number 9, which is unfinished business. Item number 10 is introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. There's none. Item number 11 is motion and miscellaneous business. Inquiries or comments by the mayor or members of city council. Anybody have any comments?
Mayor, I'll be brief. I know we, for the sake of time, but I would be remiss if I did not thank the folks who coordinated the Juneteenth family reunion this past Saturday. It was very well attended. I also would like to thank the city for their part in making sure that it went very well. So just everybody, kudos. Very nice job. Wonderful festival, and I look forward to next year.
All right,
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comment, Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to call everyone's attention to not only the summer library programming, there's a really great schedule of all of the activities for children, youth, and families, so please check that out. And then the Kids Play Guide through Roanoke Parks and Rec has all sorts of activities this summer, including the Summer Fun at Washington Park, which actually starts today, this afternoon from 2 to 5, and runs Monday through Friday from 2 to 5. Horton Hoops at Horton Park, and a whole bunch of other activities and camps. So just to build on the presentation we heard earlier, there are lots of opportunities for kids and families this summer.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Let me just mention also the Horton Hoops, because I had a chance to be there last Thursday. My days are so mixed up now. I think it was last Thursday. And the police officers came out. We had about 10 police officers there who came out to join with the neighborhood in playing basketball, and that event is going to last through August. So I would encourage you to take advantage of it. I commend the Recreation Department for the courts, look to be in fine shape. Things look to be very neat. Grass is cut. It looks really good over there. So I want us to take advantage of those kinds of activities, and very positive, and I appreciate the police staff for being out there and playing basketball. It's a good thing, and it's on the I must say it's similar to the League Youth Basketball activity we had, where police came in, and police are there to really be a part of the community. I think some of those young people need to see police officers in a different light than what they do, and I think we can't do that enough. So I would encourage you, especially you that lives in the Lansdowne community, right across the street, go on over there and participate and play basketball, and we'll have from time to time refreshments over there. They had a lot of pizza there last week, and if I wasn't on this kind of diet, I would, and I'd have stayed and got my share of pizza, because I hate to walk by it, and it smelled so good over there. But y'all should take advantage of that as the summer rolls on. I think it's going to be a good summer. All right. With that, we're going to not talk about vacancies on certain boards and authorities. We have none. So council will stand in recess until our 7 o'clock session this evening. Thank you.